Resident Evil 4 is an interesting game because this game doesn't have any zombies. No, instead they have people with little bugs in their tummies that get really angry, and they wield big, huge machine guns. Sometimes they have crossbows, they have these electrified sticks, and sometimes with a little bit of magic and some love and a spoonful of sugar, one of them wields a rocket launcher. Pew!
Oh hey, is that a rocket?
Okay, screw it. Let's just get into this game. The game starts out by recapping the events of the last several Resident Evil games, just to kind of give you some context. Met with Leon inside of a moving vehicle with some other police officers, and he mentions how he's super important now and he's helping the president directly protect his family. And he's helping his missing daughter, who is somehow missing out here, and no one really knows the extent of anything that's going on. So we start out with very little information, and this is really campy. It plays out like some B-movie, B-Hollywood movie, storyline with all the silly quips that Leon has to say and ways that they handle situations. But you know what? It's fine. It's not bad. It's more funny because the gameplay is what's most interesting. But hey, the story isn't too bad. We decide to do a quick B&E, a break and enter, to this guy's house, and we find out that he's a fucking feral weirdo. Leon doesn't really want to kiss, so he shoots him dead, and then he kind of regrets it. He's like, oh no, I just killed one of the villagers. What's gonna happen? Well, they want to kill you, but that was their whole goal anyway. So after we move forward, we actually get to a part where we fight lots of people in a small area, this little village area. I guess this game is well known for it because, well, it happens at the beginning of the game, and it's this kind of cool sequence. You come in, you fight all these people, there's some random items hidden around. You're not really given an idea as to how long this is gonna last. There's healing, and then there is a shotgun you can pick up. And eventually, after you kill enough guys, a bell rings and they leave. You're like, what the fuck? As we push on, we find a note written in English, and I'm not really sure who this is written for. Is it written for the crazed villagers who only speak a different language other than English? Maybe. There's some blue coins randomly scattered around, and if you shoot at least 10 of them, you get a free weapon, so I'm gonna do it. I find my way inside this house, and there's just this dude sitting inside of a cupboard, and we rescue him, but as we rescue him, this two-tone-eyed dude walks up and steals us away and ropes us together, which is really nice of him, honestly. They talk about themselves for a while, which is cool, I guess. They're both cops. And then this guy with an axe comes in, and they're like, oh shit, I guess why didn't we figure out a way to get out of here earlier? Well, as luck would have it, if you press X and square, you can just save their lives. So after this guy, Luis, runs away, and we get to meet the coolest character in the world, the merchant. I mean, everyone likes the merchant. He's cool. You can go to him, you can sell stuff to him, you can buy stuff from him, and you can tune up your weapons to make them stronger, shoot faster, have a bigger magazine, and reload them faster. And after you get all of those stats on each gun leveled up all the way, you get an exclusive one, so it's worth it to like work on one weapon to get up to get that exclusive tune-up. Anyway, we buy some stuff from this guy, and we have to move forward. We have to go to a church because that's where Ashley's being held. You have to kill a lot of dudes who think Leon is just the best, and they just want to give him nice warm hugs, but Leon doesn't like it, so he destroys them. The next thing that happens is we meet up with the two-tone eye guy yet again. He tells Leon how handsome he is, and then we eventually get outside where I make a mistake and let the chainsaw guy chop my head off. That's what I wanted. After quite a bit more fighting, I find my way to the church, but instead of going in, you need a key, so I decide to shoot the rest of the blue coins, get the free gun. I also do a little puzzle, which you get to find these insignias on some gravestones. We find a note that says Luis actually stole something from these guys, and if they can't get it back, the world will be completely different than what they imagined. So they've got a cult thing going on here. There's another large chunk of fighting and looting until we finally get to a lake where we have to fight this big giant monster fish called Del Lago, and you actually get in a boat and you shoot him with this little harpoon, and he drags you along. You've got to shoot him, you've got to throw the harpoon at him, all those fun things. And it's not really too hard of a fight, but it's really not too badly designed. After braving a few more areas of rabid Leon fans, we finally find this insignia, which is actually what we need to open the church. But on our way back, we have to fight a fucking giant. And this guy isn't too hard. Something I didn't mention earlier was that I saved a dog from a bear trap, and now the dog actually comes back to help distract him while I'm able to shoot him. He is a little tough, but not too bad. You shoot him a few times, this thing pops up out of his back, I blast to hell, and we're on our way. Back at the church, we find Ashley, the president's daughter, the person we were there to find. In the next room, a guy named Sadler says some things to us like, hey, now you got a bug in your tummy, bro. Leon flings this poor woman through a window, and then they try and find a way out of the village. Apparently they're having some problems finding a way, so now you can access a previously inaccessible door now that you have Ashley. She climbs up, goes to the other side, and opens the door, and you can do some of this stuff later on. It's not super pronounced or anything like that, but you can can sometimes have her help you with stuff. Eventually, you get surrounded near this very convenient house, which also contains items and Luis with a gun. So you guys hold out in this house. Ashley hides in a cupboard. No one can get to her, which is great because it's annoying when you have a character running around a small space you have to protect. But here you have to kill lots of dudes, and I do have some issues because I'm a little low on ammo and I'm trying to use grenades, and I'm having some issues. Grenades. After this, I have two choices. One, fight another big giant dude, or two, go through an area with lots and lots of ganados, the kind of main people you're fighting, as well as a couple chainsaw dudes. And there are quite a few people here, but I decided to go with that option. It seemed more exciting to me. I really didn't feel like fighting the giant again. After passing through this area, we ride this little gondola type thing, and we have to fight some more guys along the way, which you get to shoot out of the other gondolas coming up. Then you find Two-Tone Eye Dude, and you actually get to see his true form, a horrific, nightmarish monster. You have to fight him by shooting the shit out of him and hoping he doesn't get a hold of you. During this fight, you can actually do things like context sensitive, like L1, R1 to dodge one of his attacks, which is cool. He's a little difficult, but once you kill him, you get a lot of money, so you can buy shit, and you also get a lot of items around the burning barn. Then you leave, and you can use his eye, which just rolls out of its socket because it's, I guess, a special eye, and you use it to open a door which leads you into the next area of the game, the castle. They're so excited to see us, they send a welcoming party, and we fight our way into the castle, which seems like a grand idea. We get to go through some fun areas around the castle ramparts and inside the castle itself until eventually we meet Luis again, who somehow lost the fucking medicine to cure our tummy bugs. We find a note where they're very upset that Luis has taken not only the antidotes, but the sample, and I assume the sample is the tummy bug queen. I press on and find this dude locked up, and I have to unlock him to unlock the next door, and he's a little scary. He's tough because he can't see, but he can hear very well. So there's these two bells around the room that you can hit with your knife or shoot with your gun. Now he doesn't always go for them. Sometimes he goes for the gunshot that you make because he just has very sensitive hearing, guys, and he can't see. So he swings fucking wildly, and you've got to be able to shoot him in the back where that Las Plagas, that's what it's called. It's not called the tummy bug, but his tummy bug pops out of his fucking back. You gotta shoot it there. We meet the lord of the castle, Lord Salazar, and he's a creepy little shit, ain't he? But he's like, hey, you should just join us, guys, come on. And Leon says this wonderful line.
No thanks, bro.
Then Salazar says, you're fucking worthless, dude. Continuing on, we go through some very weirdly elaborate setups for a castle, including using a crank to pull up other portions which are underwater, and that's the only way to get through. It seems like this would be a very hard castle to traverse in the middle of the day when you get home with your groceries. Next, Ashley walks stupidly into a very obvious fucking trap. Come on, people, look where you're fucking walking. Salazar calls on my video phone to just taunt us, and then we have to move through some underground area where there's a bunch of fucking bugs that are invisible? What's happening? We learn next that this guy felt bad for doing terrible things to Sadler's family, and so to reconcile these sins, as he calls it, he decides to give him the hibernating tummy bugs and says he'll save the world. I bet you he will. Our next meeting with Salazar, he's like, I have full control of the tummy bugs, and Leon's like, I don't give a shit. So we decide to shoot our way through. We fight through many different rooms of the castle while Lord Salazar calls us on our video phone to taunt us even more. I don't know why he's calling us. It's really weird. We get to a section where there's a little maze outside with some shrubs, and there's a bunch of fucking dogs, and some of them have the plagas things, the tummy bugs on their back, and so they're scary. And you know what's funny? I played this part silent because my daughter was sleeping, so I had to literally just every time I walked around a corner just fucking react. Eventually we meet this woman named Ada who is very mysterious and doesn't really tell us anything, and there's this fun action scene. There's a note next that says that Ada wants the sample, and so they're going after her now, and fuck Luis, he can die. Not too long after this, we finally meet up with Luis, who fucking dies. Lord Sadler comes out of nowhere and just right through the fucking chest, and then he takes the sample from Luis and lets us live. Why is he letting me live? Screw it. Next, Luis gives you some medicine that makes the tummy bugs go back to sleep a little bit, and then he dies. Pfft, too bad for him. Next, we have to stand kind of up high and save Ashley from far away, and I decide to use the worst gun in the world, the TMP, which fires very fast, and I don't have a stock. I played it loose with that one. To save Ashley, we have to become Ashley, and that's serious. You have to become Ashley, and you have to walk around and do shit with no weapons. You can use some lanterns to throw at these guys, and eventually you get to a spot where you're dodging these knights' attacks and just running the hell out of there. And then when you meet up with Leon, you get to keep all the items she found in her little adventure. We move ever forward through hordes and hordes of enemies and very interesting setup rooms until we finally meet Lord Salazar again, and he makes the spike ceiling come down on us. But luckily, before that, that, you can just shoot the little buttons before you walk into the room. You can just see them through the doorway, and the sequence just stops immediately, which is kind of funny. Also, someone likes the movie Labyrinth with David Bowie. Eventually, Ashley gets kidnapped by some outside the tummy bugs. That's fucking stupid. And we make our way until we find this clock tower that has a note in it that lets us know that they're gonna jam up the gears of the clock tower in 3 places, and that should buy them enough time. So what a weird fucking note to write. Oh, also it lets you know Ashley's in danger, yada yada, a ritual or some shit. The game has really cranked it up a notch with a lot of dudes who are really tough in small areas. Finally, we do meet Lord Salazar, who he has Ashley with him and these 2 rogue figures who's been with him for a while, and he lets you fall down a trap door, and Leon pulls out a grappling hook, grabs it onto the stone, and then lives. And it's like, all right, sure, whatever. But then Lord Salazar is like, hey, fucking kill him. How very dare he? And sends one of his guys to go kill him. Now, I remember this fight, and I know the secret to this fight. Buy a rocket launcher, and when you go to fight the guy he sent to kill you, he's pretty tough. All you have to do is go over to one of the liquid nitrogen tanks, kick it over, and the very first time he gets frozen, if you pull out the rocket launcher and shoot him in the nuts, he's dead. And that's exactly what I fucking do. Because look, you have to wait 4 minutes for this elevator. I'm not waiting 4 minutes for this elevator. I can just buy a rocket launcher. We move further and further down into some mines, and eventually we find an area full of lava where we fight 2 of the giants at one time. Although you can trick one into falling into the lava. Although don't get too close when he's in the lava. He can actually grab you out and pull you into the lava. Fucking what? What? Next, we fight some bugs in a cavern. We fight some people outside. We go down into this area that looks like it's straight out of Indiana Jones with a minecart even. Things only get more ridiculous as we have to jump from the hands of this large Lord Salazar robot type thing, and once we open up the way we're supposed to go, it chases me. It fucking chases me, and I have to dodge things and then get out of the way. When do they have time to put this together, and why? All of this fighting and looting leads up to a fight with Lord Salazar himself, who he has control of the tummy bugs. So he lets his tummy bugs out, and you actually have to shoot him in the eye. And again, I use the pistol to shoot him in the eye, because at this point, I've upgraded the pistol very far, and it's pretty strong. I like this red 9 pistol. Then I pull out the broken butterfly, which is a magnum, and that does large amounts of damage, and I have just enough ammo to get him down pretty quickly with very little time in between shooting to just dodge things and get hurt. So he wasn't too hard of a fight, and I'm sure if you had the money, you could probably rocket his ass as well, but at this point it's not worth it because there are many more times where a rocket launcher is more helpful. Leon watches Ashley get taken out to this island and then also goes out there himself, but he's helped by Ada, who doesn't really help him so much as she already is going that way, so she's like, yeah, you get my boat. And then when she gets there, she grapples up and just lets Leon get his ass knocked around in this fucking little boat. The next length of game is Leon going through many different environments and fighting lots and lots of new, stronger enemies. Enemies that have flails, enemies that have lightning sticks, enemies that have Gatling guns, and they're all pretty tough. You do eventually get a vest you can wear to reduce the damage you take by being hit, but honestly, sometimes I just can't get the fuck out of the way. And this is all leading up to you saving Ashley inside of this locked cell. And let me tell you what, it feels like ages, but it really only is about 3 hours total. As we move even further fucking forward, we find out there's this new guy called the Regenerator, and he has the Las Plagas, the tummy bugs, inside of him, and they're actually reviving him because he has so many. So you've got to get this special scope and put it on a rifle, and then you can see the tummy bugs through his skin. And so you actually have to use it to shoot all of them, and then sometimes some of them have one on their back, and sometimes they don't die right away. You have to deal some damage to them or hit them with maybe an explosive barrel, but they aren't very frequent. There's actually about like 5 to 7 encounters total, and then you don't ever need to worry about them again. Once we finally find all of the key cards and areas we need to go to, we save Ashley. We find a note left by Ada that says, you probably already know this, and I don't, but you can get out of here using the waste disposal vent. So wonderful, you get to jump down some fucking garbage. We fight a massive amount of dudes. We fight several different regenerators, and we also push some red boxes that Ashley helps you with until we finally get to a sequence where we have Ashley drive this weird looking bulldozer, and Leon stands in the back. As she drives down the road and crashes into things, enemies will run up behind the bulldozer and you have to shoot them and fight them. And some of them will turn into the tummy bug people where you have to use a flash grenade or just kill them very fast by shooting them with pistol right in the head or a shotgun or a magnum. And eventually you have to get out of the bulldozer and climb up some ladders and do some stuff while they are attacking her. So then you listen for her to scream, Leon, help me! And then you have to shoot them. This sequence is also very long and there's a lot to do here. Eventually, we find Lord Sadler, who has actual full control of the tummy bug and makes Ashley walk towards him and makes you writhe in pain. We get to see a cutscene between Ada and a guy I didn't mention until now, Krauser. We saw a brief cutscene earlier where Sadler was telling him he needs to go kill Leon, but we still haven't seen him try, so he wasn't really important. But now he's talking to Ada, and it seems like they know each other. So this is a mystery. But not entirely, because pretty much the next thing you do is you have this very long interactive cutscene where Leon and Krauser fight with knives. And you can actually fail so many times in this because you don't expect exactly when you need to push the buttons. Yes, you can kind of get a feel like, okay, he's probably going to jump at me. But when does the button sequence come up? How many times does it come up? And when is that checkpoint in the middle? So if I do fail, I don't at least go all the way back to the beginning. I push on ever further until I find this weird, large, suspended chain of cages where we get inside and there's this big monster thing who chases you around. You've got to shoot these green lights and you've got to push buttons to open doors. And then you need to release each of the crates behind you because that's what the game asks you to do. And then eventually the monster falls down with the last crate. Well, surprise, surprise, when you go in the next room, that thing comes back. And it's really fucking weird. And that crate sequence is kind of difficult. The only way to get past him is to like shoot his head or hope you get past him. He is tough, man. I had to use so much healing. And then the second phase where he's running chasing you around, that one's not too hard. You shoot him a few times until you make him reveal his weak point, where I then introduce him to my magnum. After this, the next area we go through is quite large because Krauser chases you around with both a knife and this crazy Uzi that has tons and tons of ammo. Your best weapon is your knife. Yeah, that's right. To use the knife on him is the best weapon. Don't use your ammo. I mean, you can because you're gonna get loads more and the game is pretty close to being done. But you have to find 3 pieces of stone that are the picture of this door as you go around these areas trying to survive Krauser's attacks. It's really like a regular Resident Evil puzzle where you find these stone reliefs, but while you're being chased by an insane dude with a knife. Eventually you find out he has the tummy bugs and he's super powerful, but we still kill him because his weakness is knife. After this you meet Ada and she's like, hey, how's it going, Leon? And you choke her ass out. And she's like, get that tummy bug out of there. And that's exactly what your goal is now, is to get Ashley and get tummy bugs out of your tummy. Well, you have to fight so many guys to get to Ashley. Eventually we find a convenient tummy bug removal system, and then we make the best choice you can for the last boss. Buy the rocket launcher. Remember I said earlier, I said it was going to be useful later on. Well, here this fight, you actually fight Sadler. It's the last boss, and you can reveal his weak point and then pull out the rocket launcher and shoot him in the weak point, which then triggers the last sequence where Ada gives you a special rocket launcher, which happens at the end of pretty much every Resident Evil. And if you shoot him with it, no matter what's going on, you just shoot him, the fight's over. So I don't have to fucking fight him. I just shoot his leg eye and then shoot him with the rocket launcher and shoot him with the second rocket launcher. And that is it, folks. We kill the last boss, we get a key for a jet ski, and then you escape this exploding island. And then Ashley hits on Leon, Leon hits on the woman who's at the end of the phone, and you're done with the game. You've saved the president's daughter. Yay, we did it. Game number 27 is beaten on the PS2, people. Resident Evil 4 is all done. And I'm sad to say, I wish I could have played Mercenaries because that mode unlocks after the first time you complete the game, but that's fine. I don't really have a lot of time. So with that being said, before we move on to the Guess a Game, I have to say this one thing. Resident Evil 4 was almost not made because the game didn't work past a certain point. Once I got to a certain point, about 4 or 5 hours in, I couldn't play the game anymore. It just wouldn't load past a certain screen no matter what I did. So I had to buy another copy. My sister was nice enough to get me another copy. And so I actually got that copy and tried it. And while it did load past that section, it had a lot of scratches. And that one also had issues. It loaded very slow and would stop in the middle of cutscenes, and that one also wouldn't load past some areas. So the rest of the game, which took about 15 hours, was me switching discs in and out in the middle of the gameplay. I do have a small PS2 with the top that opens up, and I had to switch them in the middle of cutscenes, in the middle of gameplay. Then I had to tip my PS2 so that it would load properly. I don't know what the fuck happened, but it took me so much longer to beat the game than it should have because some of that time was counted towards things. I'm not sure if time counts during that, but some of the sequences where it froze were not during cutscenes. I was just standing there, just slowly moving, and I don't know if things were happening. That's the problem. So whatever, it wasn't bad. I was able to beat it. I'm really happy because I did announce in the last video's comments that I couldn't do it. So on to the guessing game. It's the guessing game, everyone. What game am I going to play next? This one's going to be an odd one. I don't know if you've even heard of this one. In fact, I didn't until I bought it at my local game stores. So let's see if you guys can figure it out. It probably not, honestly. I mean, I would never figure it out even if I tried. So thank you so much for watching the video. I am really about to have strep throat. Like, my throat hurts and I've been just kind of, I don't know how I got the video, but I decided I have to finish it right now before I get strep throat, or I cannot do the editing because I won't be able to talk tomorrow or the next day, I'm sure. But this was a lot of fun and I really enjoy playing these games. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.